The recording.
Recording is on.
Yeah, I was asking you, Sophie, the person who was saying that, oh, isn't it nice that we can be with our mother as she's dying? Speaking of the planet, and
Yes.
that's more of what I was talking about, rather than there's an afterlife.
Oh yeah, that was Sue. That was Sue Green from Deep Green Resistance who said that story, and she said she was kind of talking about that person who was and she was saying, but don't you see that she's being assassinated? Your mother, she's not, And she's like, yeah, it's great to be with her, but she's being killed. Like, so, do you remember that in the meeting? I think I don't see, maybe you had it thought of in another context, but that's what came back to me there.
Yeah, that's the one. I forgot which group it was, but we were kind of...
It was the recent meeting we uploaded and that we had with Sue in January. And, we had great...
But it wasn't Sue who said that. It was, it was someone she knew.
Someone she knew, yeah. It was somebody from probably Deep Green Resistance, I think. Or that she was in a meeting.
XR?
Yeah, no, she was in an XR meeting and somebody said that. And that was her reaction. Her reaction was, well, it's not, maybe it's great, but she's being killed and I'm going to do something,
And so in a way, is that a death glorification or a death culty type of thing? Or do you think that's separate?
There's a lot of that in XR.
Yeah, I would say if the idea is that it's good if we go for the sake of the planet, or it's good if we die for the sake of something that will precede it, that's somewhat the same mindset, I think, if I understand the idea correctly. If the idea is that no, you should fight to stop it from dying, then I would say that's a different mindset. But yeah, if the idea is that Mother Earth or whatever is dying and it's best if we go, then I think that's sick. I think that's truly...
Yeah, that's a control narrative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You want to
exactly.
elaborate?
It sort of puts humans above the earth and above nature and stuff, and acts like it's our job to look after it, and we have the power to destroy it, which puts us above it in some kind of hierarchy, and that's just...
But there's a lot of people in the movement.
It also kind of suggests that we're going to carry on after she's gone.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people in exile who consider themselves as custodian of the earth, we are the guardians of this, or the guardians of the sea, and all that. It's all the same talk of human. I don't find the word, but putting yourself at the top of the chain and nature. It's just horrible. Horrible.
Dominion.
Derek Jensen talks about this a lot. And I like what he says about that. I really like his approach and the Deep Green Resistant approach in general, apart from some issues that I don't understand at all. But a lot of their approach to our place in the world is very, very sound, really sound.
Can I say something about the meetings again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I missed something there. But is the Desiderata going to be? Could it be built into the structure? Because I know a lot of work went into it. I'm thinking of organisations like AA and NA, where they've got their 12 steps, which is what everyone does to get clean. But alongside that, you've got these sort of 12 traditions, and they're just like principles, and they're in those groups. they're constantly refreshed and discussed. So that the items of the Desiderata could be an ongoing every other week or once a month. We don't want to, nail everything down too hard, but to hold things together. If we were to sort of do that, and the thing I think about AA and NA and all that is, it's not bad, and it's held up as with an anarchist structure, a completely decentralized structure. It's held up for 100 years using that method.
I don't know.
I totally agree. I think a very loose framework can be helpful, but emphasis on loose. Yeah, I don't like the idea of having the Sunday 3 months from now be nailed down and know what we're going to be talking about. Things change, we're in crazy times.
What I'm suggesting is, rather than just a topic, that every second or third meeting is like a discussion of one of the items of the Desiderata, so that in the course of the year we've gone through the whole Desiderata, and at the start of the year we go again, just to give some holding to the thing.
Well, it's already happened kind of when we were talking today, because look, of course there was some topics like info energy, for example, that Mr. McKay wants to talk about. Well, I'm not saying that it's not in the Desiderata, but somewhere there is, if you read through the lines. The topic that Ryan suggests for me on Kairos, it's number 2 in the Desiderata. I think it's also, we've discussed today psychological preparation and the dangers of Puritanism and giving up and all these things. And it's in Desiderata number 9, in a way, because it's ataraxia, and ataraxia is a state of mind that we want to read. So it's true what you're saying, but it's funny that those subjects underline all our discussions, because when they were written, we started discussing them, I remember, and it would be good to bring them. I think it's good to bring them back, but maybe not in a so much structured way. I think it's good to bring them back to the forefront and to revisit them. I have them printed, and I have them sometimes near my chair, and I just go through them regularly, and it's not like a Bible or anything like that, but it's a start of meditation or a reminder or a prop or something, and the one I like the best is this one. The alien. Do you remember the alien code? And I found the alien code, actually. It was a great work. It's great. I got great. Do you remember, Ryan? That's how we met you.
Yeah. Was that how everybody got in here, or
not everyone? No, because some people, there was some, when you had done the QR code and it was leading you to a phrase written in this, and that was the early stage when we were still talking about an ARG and getting people who had talents at decoding, and we shouldn't let that go. Actually, that alien code, it's a fun, and it's part of game. And
are you talking about the alien cortex video itself?
No, the alien code. Remember? All those funny letters.
Special language.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a bit of a thickie. I never figured out the puzzle in the ARG. I don't know.
No, but that's fine. There's place for every type of talents and and things, but it's good to have his code, because it was it's good memories, and it brings back this playfulness that we need to have too in the preparation. And I think it's not just all about spiritual, like giving up, Play is very, very important, and we have to keep that alive, really. And that's
I've got to go, everyone. I'll stay in touch. Just on that you said, Sophie, before I go, I remember the first time when I was in my early 20s, the first time I ever saw the Dalai Lama. I didn't know who the Dalai Lama was. And I was in this flat in East London. I was buying some cannabis, and the television was on in the corner of this flat, and there was this sort of what looked to me like a Chinese guy on it. It was the Dalai Lama. I didn't know who he was. I'd never seen him before. And I remember this guy, the Dalai Lama on the telly, he said, "Life is suffering." And it caught my attention that this guy said, "Life is suffering." And then he burst out laughing. And I thought, who is that guy? And Hugh reminded me of that as well. Just that thing on the humour.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll see you all again.
Bye-bye, Jim.
All right.
Take
it
care,
easy.
Jim.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Yeah, having that kind of humor is good. Oh man, I feel like I'm evangelizing this book. It's so good. But there's this scene at the very start of Black Fox Running where, so Stargreif is really old, 9-year-old fox, and Wolfgar asks him, after all these years, are you afraid of death? And Stargreif says, no, but you're so damn stiff the next day.
But you know, you've been talking about this book for several months, and it seems to have made a very big impression on you. And I haven't the time at the moment to read it, but I've read a couple of books that you suggested, like Sirius and another one. I can't remember which the other one. But why don't you one day pick, if you were happy to do that as a topic, that's maybe not exactly in the list that Jason has given, but might be related to what you read through that book that you seem to really quote and like.
I don't know if I could talk about it. Like, I don't know. When I read it, I felt like I was talking to a kindred spirit in a way, because I feel like this guy had the same kind of experiences as me, and I wanted to talk to him, but he passed away years ago, which is really sad. But I really feel like, wow, this guy sort of had, like, I don't know, the same kind of apathia or kind of like mystic mind, so to speak, with
But
how
that
he
would be
wrote.
fascinating, you
Yeah,
see.
I don't know how to talk about it though.
Well,
Yeah.
it's up to you, but it would be fascinating because you seem to have gathered a lot of insights from other sources than we have, and it would be a really interesting contribution. But it's up to you with your own.
I would have to figure out how to explain it without, coming off as like babbling like a baby, because it's hard to talk
That's
about
okay too.
mysticism. Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
think
it's like
that's an idea that I had.
it's like it could be like, I can never say for sure, because I'm not foolish enough to think I can objectively, state my mental state. But it's like, I feel like it's perhaps I stepped on the other side of the looking glass and I don't know how to talk yet.
Yeah, but
I
that could
still
be the
feel that
start
way.
of an exchange between us, because you wouldn't need to be talking all the time. But what I mean is that your approach and your topics and your references could be the basis for another type of discussion that would be totally different to what we have usually.
Speaking of which, there's something that I've often wanted to hear about, and that's Gary's thoughts on antinatalism, because I know that whenever he was on the call, I don't think Gary could fully get all those thoughts out, because he had such strong feelings about it. But I'd love to hear more about that. If there's
Hugh's thoughts on it were antinatalism is another control narrative. That was his thoughts on it. It's the alien cortex trying to assert control. Yeah.
I think it's one of the strongest epitomes of that. You're literally fighting the most base natural instincts you have for the sake of an abstract concept. Yeah,
I don't have those instincts, so I don't agree. But like I personally don't enjoy being around children. But but yeah, for people who do, I get that you would be fighting that.
But I mean it as like as a philosophy, as an ideology that people in general shouldn't have children. I guess that's what I think of when I think of antinatalism. Not a personal choice to not have kids is totally.
Yeah, yeah. If it's more of like, like if you've thought through and having a child is like seems like a hassle, like a hassle for your life, makes it hard for you to live and enjoy your life. I think that's totally different than doing a consequentialist kind of, alien cortex maneuver about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think because the antinatalists are doing the pure consequentialist thing. Oh, life is suffering, that sort of thing. I'm not gonna have kids because it's bad or blah blah blah. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
there
I
was a
feel like
whole video on this. There was not a whole video, but a big part of a meeting on this. I remember, Ryan, you were there, and we had this discussion with Hugh about that, and because you
Yeah,
were nearly asking,
but I felt-
right, really, and
but
he actually gave a fantastic answer.
yeah, I know, but I feel like I just got Hugh's perspective on it. I've always wanted to hear Gary's.
Well, we'll have to ask Gary next time. It will be probably in 2 weeks because next week he'll be on the faulty call, and he will probably return after that. But why not engage with him and give him a call or an email? Because he's on the other side of the planet for me in Europe, and so you could where you are closer. I don't know where you are at the moment, but
No, I'm no longer in Asia.
are you no longer in Asia? So, oh yes, you told me.
You can also send Gary a private message on Reddit.
Yeah.
He's answered mine before, so
Yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Next
I
week.
thought his answer might have been interesting to more than just me. So
It's wonderful to talk with Gary. Honestly, I have often, and I still do have conversations in the evening for me, and we just for an hour we just blah blah blah, But when there's a topic, he's really focused, so he would love that definitely. I can't remember what was his thoughts on anti-natalism, but I do remember what Hugh said and where he was warning us of the control modus operandi of the alien cortex on this, and that we had to let
yeah,
that go to.
I never really bought all of that because I felt like there's a large amount of control narrative in having children, where you're like trying to propagate your live through your child or propagate a sense of yourself. Like especially if it's like it has to be your own genes rather than adopting a child or something.
But that's a primate or rather mammalian thing. So you can't really apply the thing of control on this unless you don't want to be ruled by your hormones or your
Well,
instinct.
I was thinking about it as an immortality project more, like where your alien cortex is like, hey, I don't want to die, so I'm gonna have a kid, and like the kid is gonna propagate for me. Like and a lot of people really treat their children as property.
I think a lot
of the spirit of propagation of the species, and that perversion is probably created by civilization and hence the alien cortex. But at the bottom of it all, you're producing sperm. Women are producing ovaries. The cycles, reproduction happens sometimes. I mean, I've worked in obstetrics and gynecology, and I tell you the amount of pregnancies that are not planned and people who are perfectly educated and who can absolutely use contraception and stuff like that is enormous. So, there's a lot of things at play there that we're not in control of, and thankfully we're not. So I think that's what Hugh was touching in his talk about that. It was probably last year. I think it was about. I'd like to dig it out again. I'd like to find it again. That video actually, but it's all these things that are at play, and taking a stance like saying, "Oh, I'm a natalist," or "I'm an anti-natalist." That is already a perversion. That is pure control.
I think a lot of a lot of parents get their alien cortexes tied up in their parenting. And so I think you're right. A lot of people who are governed strictly by their alien cortex do have kids for the sake of molding them into, the star quarterback that they never were, or something like that.
This is my kid.
Yeah, exactly. It goes into the very language itself. It's your child. It's yeah. But I don't think that's intrinsic to parenting in the biological sense, right? Animals of all shapes and sizes have children and do raise them and do teach them things. But yeah, the idea of using it as an immortality project or controlling it in a certain way, sending it to the right schools and molding it into what you want it to be in your, the abstract part of your mind, your alien cortex. That's really nasty stuff.
But don't forget that the hunter-gatherers, well, we might be talking theory, but it's from what I've read of people who know much more things than me, who have studied the way they lived much with the tools that they could, as compared to farmers. The place of children became totally different when people started to settle and to have land, and they needed hands to help. They needed people to keep their properties and stuff like that. I think in a primitive, oh no, I don't like to say the word primitive, but let's say in a hunter-gatherer society, as the ones we know that are still alive now, this is not happening, and the children are usually, like in the Piraha, for example, the children are the children of the tribe. Parents don't know how many kids they have. They all just go around, and I think it's just our settled sedentary life that has completely given this dimension to the children, which is first a practical one, looking after the people when they get old, help hands on the land, keeping the property, and all that has evolved into, this immortality project and this kind of completely psychopathic, really, type of way of looking at having children. There was a poet called Halil Gibran, who's from Lebanon, who wrote in one of his poems something on children, and one of the part of the poem was, I can't exactly remember the verse, but it was, the parents are the bow, and the children are the arrow, and they just pass through you, and you just, and I must find that verse, and I'll post it sometime, but it's a very good image, and I think we should hold on to this. We're just a bow, and the direction, we don't have to give any direction. They're just passing. Children are passing through us. That's it.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by a lot of the things in Daniel Everett's book. The Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, about the Piraha. There are three things around children that stick out in my mind. One is they don't use baby talk with their children, so they just treat them as adults, essentially, including having physical relationships with them and things like that. And they the baby would be playing with a knife, and the drop it, and then the mother would put the knife back in their hand, and there's not coddling, there's not this needing to be, I guess, with guardrails, but still people end up being fine. And if they're not fine, people are okay with it too. There was a case where someone was dying of something and people didn't help because it was normal for them, and it was supposed to be a family member or something to help that person. It's just hard to understand, but interesting.
Well, I realized that when I came here in my 30s, in the country where I live, where the culture around death and children is quite different, I witnessed things that I had never seen when I was living in a country that was a little bit more urban, and it was, for example, of course, you've heard of the Irish Wake. where people are left in their house, in the bed, usually on their bed, and people come into the house and have food and music and chat around the dead person that's there in the room, and it can be music, and it can go on for 24 hours before the coffin thing happens, and the funeral and the whole thing. And what I noticed in several houses, I seen some grannies dead, or granddads, and I noticed the kids going to lie down on the bed with the dead body of their grandparents without anybody thinking that it was odd, holding their hand, having a last hug, and just sitting on the bed, and I thought that was the beautiful, ordinary thing of life and death there in front of me, and it's wonderful, and I think I feel that the Piraha and some other tribe that I can't remember have the same kind of. Oh yes, in the Aborigines too, in Australia, some descriptions I've read have the same sort of simple attitude, and let children into that completely without any restraints. As in our civilization, they are put in a sort of baby talk, as you say, protection from danger and all this sort of so-called danger, and that always struck me a lot.
It kind of goes back to the same thing, to try and always tie it back to the alien cortex here, but it's the idea that there is this future set in stone for your child. They're going to go through all these stages. They're, all the different stages of school, then the post-secondary, whatever it is. They're going to have a career. They're going to have, they're going to get married. They're going to buy a house. There's all these stages of their life that one is supposed to go through, and they kind of want to preserve them for that. And so they kind of wrap them in bubble wrap and prevent them from a whole lot of experiences that are essential to forming people. And the baby talk and the coddling and all that stuff is just, it's not good.
Well, they're preserving their immortality that way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, have any of you read Politics of Experience by Artie Lang? I highly recommend that book. He there's a few pages in there where he really bashes how screwed up our child rearing is. Yeah, I think there's a free audio of it on YouTube somewhere. Politics of Experience by Artie Lang. Yeah, he goes.
Of experience by who?
R.D. Lang, I think it's Lainge. I can't remember how it's spelled, but the guy's a psychologist. On the Sirius website, in Hugh's long essay, he mentions R.D. Lang as like a renegade. Yeah, so that book
That's a
changed
good
my life. It's really
yes. Okay.
a renegade psychologist.
Yes, that's good. Good point. I'm trying to find that. Thank you. And you say that it could be audiobook on YouTube. If ever you have a chance, if you find it.
It's I'll find it and I'll post it on Extinctionati. As far as I know, it's still there for free.
Talking about the Reddit and posting on Reddit, I think the sub yes, it's funny to see how. Oh, thank you, Ryan. It's funny to see how the sub has gone a little bit more silent, of course, because Hugh used to be putting so much content that it was actually nearly impossible to keep up with everything and read everything. I think I still got articles that I haven't read from 2 or 3 months ago. But I think it would be nice to even after our meetings, anything that comes to mind, like that book or the poem I told you, or anything else that we want material, to use the sub for that, because we can't compete with the Lord with all his wits and fun and humor and his hashtags. So we might as well put some of our content. And
I would also like to know how Hugh was synthesizing all that good news, because that must have took a lot of time.
I know. And then maybe that's why he spent so much time sitting down and not going around. And it was bad for his health. That's the granny talking. But yeah. Oh, thank you for the links. I just got a message from Gary. Oh no, he's not going to come in. No, he's still no, that's nothing. Okay. Listen, do you know what? We've been 1 hour and 40 without you on a meeting, which is kind of impressive, isn't it? So, is there anybody who wants to say something else about the psychological preparation, or shall we leave it at that today?
I think that was good. I think that was a good discussion. Keep it going. I mean, it's not a topic we won't talk about again. I mean, it pervades a whole lot of
Yeah.
other topics. Psychology is at the root of everything.
So we
Yeah,
stay.
like it reminds me of that saying, like the psychological preparation could probably be summed up in let go or be dragged.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it was a first try at a topic, and it's going to take a while, I think, to get things. But we don't have to be too organized. I think a lot happened in the meetings without anything being too structured. So we must try to keep that spirit alive too. But it would be nice if next Sunday there was this thing on info energy, and I would be happy to hear about it again, and we'd see from there. And maybe Jason will join us, and he might have because he seems to have a very structured mind and very organized mind, so he might be able to help us a bit on that line. I added something on second my sub. Now I can create a combined post. Thank you first. Okay, so for me, I think I'm happy to end the meeting on this and wait for next Sunday to see where we're going, and maybe next week we'll post the agenda, the topics we're interested in to add to info energy, because we might want to talk about the ceremony for Hugh at the equinox, and maybe there's some other ideas than what Lionel suggested that you'd like to talk about. So for me, it's goodbye today, and you tell me when you want me. I'm going to stop the.
Oh, you're muted, Sophie. You muted.
Sorry, I'm going to stop the recording when everybody is ready to say goodbye.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to see if I can post some stuff in relation to info energy and stuff around that, maybe on Reddit or Discord or something. I'll try to put something in the title or something that says, this is for Sunday's discussion or something like that to differentiate it from their posts.
And I'll get Hugh's original post on info energy, and I'll read it a few times and think about it. I might because I've read it before, but sometimes going over something again and again, you start to get the insights. So we'll see. I feel like I understand it on an intuitive level, just can't really bring words to describe, if you know what I mean. Like, it's weird. On one side, I feel like I totally understand it. On the other side, I don't know how to explain it.
Not sure where to find any of that.
Yeah, if you have anything, feel free to bring it back up, or like if you know of a post or something. I don't know how Reddit works really, but if you can bring it back up or repost it or repin it or something.
Just pop a link in our chat, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that right now before I leave. I'm gonna pull up Reddit and scroll through, and I'll find it. All right.
And we can use the mailing list anyway to exchange info. If some people don't go on Reddit, it's understandable. There's Discord too, and there's the mailing list. And at the moment, I've got about 18 or 17 or 18 names on the mailing list. I'm going to add somebody here today, Zoo, who asked to be on it, and that's a good way of being in touch too, and it's even more confidential than Reddit in a way, if we want to talk about the meetings.
Cool.
If there's anything confidential.
Did you want to say anything about the email with Lionel? Or are we going to talk about that later?
Yeah, no, but what I can say is what I really gathered from his. I've got my notes here with him from yesterday, so I'm just because He was so nice. He was really so nice, because the idea was, I wanted to ask him what was the best way for creating a connection between us all around, because we're in different space, different places in the world, and if we want to do something at the same time, will it be what was his opinion, because we did something similar for the sigil. And he said that, well, what I wrote basically, he said that we should each on our side think what we want to do and then come together. And he says that he thinks it could happen, that we do connect, but we don't have to. We have to have an open mind on this. And he says, he talks about that poem that he has posted for me, that I have posted on the email. It's a poem that he read at the grave of his mother, I think, but it's an English thing, and he was thinking to adapt it. And if somebody in the group was had some kind of talent in poetry, maybe he could use the framework of that poem to adapt it to Hugh in particular and the sea, and then we could read that, each of us, during our little whatever we want to do. And he also, while preparing, he was thinking of that we should go around our environment and pick up an object that we would like to have when the ritual takes place, which would give it. So, I mean, that is all information from an experienced man who is very, very nice and very kind, and with who Hugh, I think, had a very good interactions, and I value his advice. So I wrote all that. So that's all I really. He said that doing it at the same time is giving it more power, if we want to be a bit in the woo without judging, and without. But that's what he said. We talked about his ideas of magic a bit, because in his approach to magic, he talks about what he says, the cup and the dagger. And the cup is an attitude where you accept what comes in without trying to dissect. The dagger is the thing that cuts and analyzes. It's what alien cortex and the self a bit. It's like in his world of magic, those symbols are. And he said that in this context, these little things of picking up an object and meditating on a poem and stuff like that are in the domain of the cup. And we can use the dagger whenever we want to, but we should, if we want to try to get something that together and to connect across the globe, we could try and experiment this and have an open mind and being a cup for a while. That's and not let the carp in too much. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I think I found the Info Energy original post, and I put it in the chat for anyone who wants it.
Thank you.
Shall we close it out then?
I think we could now. It's it's been a good talk. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye for
Later,
now.
guys.
Bye.
Be safe out there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.